don't remember who exactly made it, but a request came in to talk about my live stream setup. It's not all running right now. In fact, let me log in here to this thing, so that at least that's got a desktop going. I don't have this on, but that's part of it as well. That isn't sitting over there, that's this thing. But let's start off with the audio stuff. First off is the music computer, of course. This is the new one. This is the Toshiba Tecra 8200. And, alright, you can stop that. I'm still getting used to this new camera thingy. Has a Pentium 3 850 with 256 megabytes of memory, a 10 gigabyte IBM hard drive. The music is, of course, stored on a 320 gigabyte My Passport drive. And it is running Windows XP Professional. Word to the wise that I forgot to say during the video. Yes, I'm aware that Windows XP is out of support. No, I'm not going to be changing it over to Linux. No, I'm not going to be changing it over to some other Windows operating system. And no, I'm not going to replace the computer. Windows XP works perfectly fine for what I need to do. It runs just fine. And given the security model that I've got it running under, it should be just fine. It rarely goes on the internet anyways. This is the new music computer, like I said. It's already done its first show. In fact, it's already technically done its first 2 shows, which is pretty darn cool. It replaced this on the other side, but I'll get into that in a second. Next in line in the audio is actually the stereo that's underneath it. This is a COS, whatever the heck the model number is. Cheapo thing, but it also has the benefit of being free of charge. In fact, this was a trash find. It's kind of dirty. It needs to be cleaned. But it works. It is not grounded properly. In fact, it's not grounded at all. There is no ground point in this, which is kind of a bad thing. Which is why there's a buzz in the background of the audio feed. But it works. It also doubles as my tape player, even though deck B is completely toast. It needs new belts. The other deck probably needs new belts too, would benefit from it. It does still work though, and it's never eaten any tape, so I guess there's a benefit. Next on down the line, we've got this thing, the Aspire 1 netbook, with its Atom N450 1.86 gigahertz. I can tell you right now, I'm going to go take a look, because I forget what the exact specs of this thing are. So let's find out. Properties, let's see. I know it gets a 2.3 in the Windows Experience Index. Refocus that. 1.66 gigahertz with 2 gigs of RAM, a 160 gigabyte Hitachi hard drive, and it is running Windows 7 Starter Edition, as you can probably see. It works for what it is. I use it to basically relay the audio and also work with the microphone, which is a Logitech desktop microphone. Nothing special about it. It's actually a rather large hunk of junk, but again, it's got the benefit of being absolutely free. This was a random gift that showed up on my chair one day. Nobody's ever asked for it, so I haven't given it back. I don't even know who it really belongs to. It also plays the intro music and the bumpers and the sound effects and all that other interesting stuff. And then we move on down the line to the streaming computer. But I'll talk about that, once again, in a second. But you won't have to wait at all, thanks to the magic of video editing. Video-wise, we're going to go a little bit backwards here. This is, like I mentioned, the streaming computer. It is based off of a Pentium D 820 processor. Almost said 850, but that's not what it is. 2.8 gigahertz. Not exactly the fastest or the best thing in the world, especially considering the video card is just a lowly Radeon X1600 Pro. I do have an X1300, but it's an X1600 Pro in here. Rather large hunk of junk. Can't really do much. So it's basically doing all CPU encoding, which for some sites doesn't work too well. But in any event, it does do a decent job, and I wouldn't get rid of it for anything else. I might consider upgrading it to a Core 2 Duo of some kind, but as of right now, it doesn't really bother me too much. The capture card, I should probably talk about the rest of the specs. 2 gigabytes of memory, that's DDR400. It's not all that fast. It's got 3 hard drives in it. 2 of them are 80 gigabyte Seagate drives. The other is an 80 gigabyte Maxter. Yes, that's right. Seagate and Maxter in the same system. One of the Seagates is hooked up with the Maxter on a Rocket RAID 1740 RAID card and doing a RAID 1 mirroring array. The other one is the boot drive. And it is running Windows XP for the capture card. It's also running Vista, but that doesn't really matter for the purposes of this. The capture card, which you can see part of right there, is a Philips SAA 7130. Not exactly the world's greatest card, but it certainly isn't too bad either. And it works, and it's paid for. Takes everything in via composite, via this video switch. I've got 4 inputs here. This is a Naki 4-port dumb switch, so it doesn't do anything fancy. In fact, it's really not all that great at all, but again, it has the benefit of being free. Found this in the trash. And I can switch between all of the various inputs just like that, very easily. It's also got an automatic mode, so if I were to, I don't know, turn on something else, such as this, it would switch over to it automatically if it's in auto mode. And so there we are with that. Camera number 1 is sitting up there. That is my main camera, the JVC Vario GZE200. High definition camera, but it is most certainly not operating in HD mode. And there you can see me. Hello there. It works for what it is. It's going through composite into input 1. Camera number 2 is sitting over here. This is the Sony Handycam Vision CCD TRV72. Real nice camera for what it is. Again, found it basically about to head off into the trash. Normally it's sitting right here looking at, looking something like this. I can zoom here, which I might not be able to do. Looking at that, looking at the music player. And there we have that. The third input is this, the PowerBook G4, although I'm looking into potentially getting another computer for this. It does all the presentations. It's not the greatest, but it certainly gets me by. And again, this was basically free. The last input is the Citizen DVD player that is sitting down there, which just outputs the color bars and some title things. I think some of you may have seen the DJ Aaron radio hack that I did. And I had the, let's see if I can find that DVD. It should be around here somewhere. My allergies are still pretty much not giving up yet, anyway. So, I apologize for any of the sniffling. That is exactly what it is. So you can see that once again. So there you have that. That's basically it for the video setup now. Let me talk about the other various things in the studio. In the form of lights. There are a lot of lights here, and yes, it is also fairly hot. This is one light. There's a light up there that shines on top of the netbook so I can see its keyboard, even though I never use the keyboard on it. There usually is a light hanging from that and beaming down onto the music computer, but it is right here at the moment because it needs new batteries. And there is another light over here shining down onto me. And the last 2 lights, there's usually one sitting there, but I have to replace it. This one I shine on top of the CD player, which is, where is that thing? That thing is right there. There's a CD player for this show. RCA, decent unit, not the greatest once again, but it was also it was a Christmas present a couple years ago. I do have another CD player sitting right there, but that one does not output through one of its channels. I'll have to see why it's doing that later. And then there's that light that's sitting on top of the switch that I use. I have to charge that back up. Other studio bits and things, blinking lights. There's the Light Bright FX right there. There's a robot up there that I rarely use, but I do still have the remote for, so I do use it every once in a while. And then there's this, which is the the screensaver computer now. This was the old music player, the Tekra 8100, but since I got the new music player, it's been doing the screensaver, which is decent. The old screensaver machine is the unemployed Dell that's sitting over here. I don't know what I'm going to do with the Dell now. It's probably, like I said, it's probably just going to sit in the closet. Or I might see if I can use it as a second, see if I can get it to work with an S-Video to composite adapter, but it doesn't seem to want to do that. So it might very well just end up in the closet, and I might just not do anything with it. I did, for one show, have the Project Luddite Tegra 8000 sitting out and doing its screensaver, which was a cool feature. Then there's this thing, which is the fiber optic light. Does some cool effects. It's real nice to have. This is, I think, probably easily about 15 years old. And it hadn't been used in 15 years before I brought it out for the All-Star show. So it needed new batteries, and it needed them fast. I had to get them last minute. But it works, and it still works, so it'll just continue to stay here for as long as it does work. Oh yes, and I almost forgot this thing. This is the Compaq, the Presario A900 that has been doing the audio-only stuff. Or should I say was, until its hard drive took a dump, and the hard drive that was in it is actually in transit back to Seagate right now. But the replacement, which I'm going to show you in a second once I find my screwdriver and get it out, this is the drive that I put in to act as a replacement. And it was no better at first. It was slightly faster than the drive that I pulled out, but still not enough so that I would leave it in there. And then it got so bad to the point that it was starting to crash Windows 8. And now it just is completely not detected at all. So this one's probably junk. It's probably going to head its way up to the electronic shelf of doom because I think it's out of warranty. If not, it's going back to Seagate as well. I bought a replacement today, which won't be going into this system. It will actually be going into my main computer, and I'm going to take one of the drives out of the main computer and put it in here. Probably going to be my other Seagate, my 7200 RPM Seagate, which might be a nice drive for this. And we'll see if I can get this possibly going. Fortunately, I did have a functional backup for this, so it's not that big of a deal that we had a problem. It's just seriously annoying. And I'm going to have to move all this data over. This, by the way, for those wondering, is a 300 gigabyte refurbished. Yes, I bought a refurbished drive, but it was cheap, and very cheap at that. WD Velociraptor, but it's not going to focus on that, is it? There we go. 10,000 RPMs, real nice drive, will be a real performance increase for my, well, maybe not, because it probably won't get taken advantage of to a great extent on the USB interface, but even still, it'll be a better drive, and it will make my main computer almost Seagate free, except for the video storage. But anyway, there's the setup. There's not much else I need to talk about. I did buy another audio cable, but this will be used for an upcoming project, possibly involving that 8100. I don't know. So we'll see what happens. In the meantime, thank you for watching. If you have any comments, feel free to leave them down below. And this is CP666 signing off. I hope to see you next time. Till then. Oh yes, and one more thing before I go. If you want an up-to-date version of the broadcasting equipment, this is not up-to-date. I do have to update it again. Here you go. Everything used in the studio is listed here. That is the URL up there. If I can focus on that. And there you pretty much go. That's everything that you need to know. This Tegra 8000, this is still, yeah, this is out of date by a little bit. Last updated September 15th. Yeah, that's been a while, so I'm going to have to update that once again. But eventually it will be an updated form, and it will be constantly updated. So even if this video gets out of date, this page should not get too far out of date.